get into some of the details of the transformation, what you went through, but correct me if I'm wrong. You lost 85 pounds in the span of 8 months. Most of that was in 2020. You know, you started in September. And then from that point, after you got down to this weight, you had a 6-pack for pretty much the first time in decades. And just tell me what that experience was like for you.
It was tough because part of that was when COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to the gym and just cooking along. And, you know, I just followed the phases faithfully. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever new workouts came along, I did them. When it came to fasting, I did it. When it said fast 2 days, I did it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I never fasted a day in my life, mm-hmm. but I took everything as a challenge. And you know, the fat loss is hard. The workouts are hard, but I think the part that was really the hardest part was changing me, the way that I do life, the way I deal with stress, the way, you know, I started to recognize patterns that I had, behaviors that I had, and that I would treat stress or emotion with eating, mm-hmm. To reward myself, I guess, to get that dopamine, mm-hmm. you know, go on and sort of, and it's this vicious cycle that I had to break out of, that, you know, you feel bad, you had a stressful day, but eating makes you feel good. And so you eat and you feel good for a little while, you watch some TV, you go to bed, and then you feel guilty for it the next day. And it's just this snowball. And so I had to begin to lay that aside. And I've really realized that, and I would say this to any guy that does this program, if all you want to do is lose fat, you're in it for the wrong reason, because you'll lose some fat, but then you'll go back. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a different person. Mm-hmm. And the Fit Father program gave me the opportunity to really dig into who I am or was and become a different guy. And that I wanted to be a different person. And once I started dealing with those demons, the program became easy. The motivation was easy. And I found myself doing stuff I never thought I'd do. When they shut my gym down, I said, wow, what am I going to do now? So I said, I'm going to go run. I don't like to run, but I'm going to run anyway. I went to the store to buy dumbbells, and they were all sold out. They had one 25-pound dumbbell. And so I used that one dumbbell, and I did unilateral exercises, mm-hmm. and I did it to failure. You know, my son had a pull-up bar that we hung over his door, and I used that, even though I could only do 3 of them. Mm-hmm. You know, I just did whatever because I did not want to give up. Mm-hmm. I wanted so badly to be different that I refused to give up. And so that the change just kept coming. And then I guess it was, roughly April of 2020. So about 8 months in, shy of 8 months in, that I got down to where I was seeing the abs come and all of that. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. Because I felt so good about me. I felt so healthy. I was like spending a fortune on a new wardrobe.
Yeah.
I took all of my old clothes and I had to put them in these giant garbage bags. And I think I took 5 or 6 huge, hefty bags of clothes down to Goodwill because and there was a purpose to it. I wanted them out of the house because I didn't want them as an option to get back into. You know, I wanted to buy clothes that fit where I was. And if they got tight, you know, that's my key, you know? And so that was all fun. But the other things that started happening, I started finding that because of all my energy, I wanted to do stuff. And I was starting to work from home because I was teaching online classes and all that. And my youngest son, he was stuck at home because they had stopped going to school. So I looked at my wife and I told her, you know what, I'm going to build a deck. You know, I'd never built a deck in my life. I said, I'm going to build a deck. I have a buddy who's a contractor. And so I told him my son was 17 then. I said, Nicholas, I want you to help me build this deck. We're going to build a deck together. He said, okay. And so I went out and started planning out the deck. I ended up building a 500 square foot deck. on the back of our house during the late spring, early summer here in Texas in the heat. But I was just like out there, and I would get up and I would do my workouts, and then I would go and work outside in the yard all day long. And I would never have done that before. And that snowballed. I started doing more stuff around the house, all this home improvement stuff, DIY stuff. And so it just, one thing led to another, that as I got healthier, as I got more confident, I just found that it transformed everything around me. The way people interact with me, or maybe it's just the way I perceive them interacting with me. The things that I do, I feel great walking around with my wife. I felt better walking around with her. I know it's not every guy, but some married men know that you always want to feel like that you can protect the woman that you love. And the fat guy that I was would have been pretty, I would have fought, but I wouldn't have lasted very long. And so it just makes you feel like when you're walking around with your wife, she feels like she can be safe with you. That you can, at least for me, that's how I feel. So that's another thing that changed for me, just from losing the weight.